Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope you guys are having fantastic Thursdays, wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. Welcome back to Facebook. We were locked out. I was locked out for 2 weeks from my Facebook account. I believe that Facebook is now going to be able to work. If you've been wondering where I was, I haven't been trying to hide from you. You can always go find me on Twitter at Clay Travis, and you will be able to listen to me and watch me wherever you may be, because so far we haven't had trouble with this situation in general. But I want to welcome back in Facebook. I know I've been gone for a long time. Appreciate all of you. I also appreciate all of you on Outkick the coverage. We got a lot to get to. Periscope, Facebook, let's dive in here. Coronavirus. Coronavirus numbers continue to get better and better. The overall infection rate is declining. The overall number of new cases is declining. The overall number of deaths is declining. Basically, every metric you look at is moving in a positive direction. Most people in the media are not sharing that positivity. They're not talking about how Florida and Georgia, which they sold all of you on the idea that it was going to be an unmitigated disaster if Florida and Georgia opened up, they're all moving in a good direction, all right? The 5 states that have been open the longest are moving in the best directions of all of them. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas. Remember how everybody said, oh my God, it's going to be an unmitigated disaster. As soon as things started going well, they didn't pay any attention to it. But the numbers are trending down. The number that is the most important to pay attention to, the number that is the most important to pay attention to is the number of overall positive cases. We are now testing over 300,000 people a day, and the positivity on those tests has moved beneath 8%. So while everybody is talking about the number of cases that are positive, the actual percentage of cases that are positive are going down, and now the overall percentage of positive cases are going down, and they're being accompanied by a lower number of new total daily cases. All of this is absolutely phenomenal, okay? That is the most absolutely phenomenal amount of data that is out there. Most of you are not hearing, okay? Most of you are not hearing about that. I shared the data. I shared the data from a guy named Scott Gottlieb, who's a medical professional, not Doug Gottlieb, who's on Fox Sports Radio, Scott Gottlieb. And I actually went in, he shared a positive data point. He said, hey, look, the numbers are going down. And I was like, I wonder what the audience is saying to him. And it was all people who were panicked and saying they were unhappy with positive news. There's a huge percentage of people out there that are unhappy with positive news. There's a lot of media people that wanted Florida and Georgia to burn so that they could say, see, this is what happens if you are willing to go outside, you die, and everyone else dies too. And the truth of the matter is that hasn't happened. And it should be the number one story in all of America that Georgia has been open for 3 weeks now, and the overall number of hospitalizations and serious medical issues has declined. Should be the number one story in America. Instead, almost nothing about it. Almost total crickets. They want things to be awful in the media. They want doom and gloom. They want to scare you to death. And as soon as there is any positivity at all, they ignore it. And it's crazy to even think about. And that negativity has infiltrated into the world of sports, which is why I've talked about it so much. In particular, this guy, what's this player's name? Blake Snell. Did you see all the attention that Blake Snell got for saying some of the dumbest things that have ever been said? All right? Blake Snell, from an athlete so far. Blake Snell said, and I quote, "The risk is through the roof," explaining why he might not play baseball this fall. He said, "Bro, I'm risking my life. I should be getting the money I signed to get paid. On top of that, it's getting taxed." I don't know Blake Snell. I don't know where he went to school. He's an idiot, all right? You can go tag him in it. You can share this video with him. He is an unbelievable idiot for the arguments that he made. First of all, let's dissect them. I'm risking my life. Bro, I'm risking my life, said Blake Snell, Major League Baseball player. Bro, no. All right? You are more in danger if you are a healthy Major League Baseball player dying in a car accident driving to the stadium than you are to get the coronavirus and die. Okay? Bro, you are not risking your life. You are more in danger of being struck and killed by the lightning if you are a young person in America today than you are to die of the coronavirus. If you don't want to play, you don't have to play, okay? You have the right as an American to not work. That is your right. But you need to be making intelligent decisions, and if you have an audience, you need to be sharing actual facts. And the actual facts are, bro, you're not risking your life. Unless you are defining risking your life as being getting out of bed in the morning, because you're probably more in danger of dying getting in your car and driving to the grocery store or walking around outside while it's raining than you are from playing Major League Baseball. He also said something, I got to get my money. I'm not playing unless I get mine. I should be getting the money I signed to be paid. I haven't talked about this very much, but first of all, 36 million people have lost their jobs in America, okay? 36 million. Over 1 in 5 people who are employed have lost their jobs. So you sitting around and saying on top of that, it's getting taxed because you're still making millions of dollars to play baseball, it ain't going to land very well with the overall larger community, okay? And many people out there have lost their jobs, 1 out of 5 of you. A lot more people have taken a pay cut. I took a pay cut. I have a contract. I have a contract for radio. I have a contract for television. I'm guaranteed my money under the contract. I took a pay cut. Why did I take a pay cut? It was voluntary because I wanted to try to protect other people's jobs. I haven't even talked about this. But I took a pay cut in TV and I took a pay cut in radio because right now we have the worst economy of my life and because I want to protect other people from losing their jobs. Also, I contract to Snell, and I took a pay cut to try to help other people, okay? On a bigger scale, when things like this happen, this is when you gain fans in your audience. When you show up and you work, even though the situation may not be ideal. Major League Baseball lost me in 1994 when they didn't finish the season, okay? In 1994, they didn't ever play the World Series. They couldn't get an agreement. If Major League Baseball players do not come back because they're asking for too much money, and a 50-50 split seems completely legitimate to me because nobody has any idea how much money is going to be made. If they don't come back and play, why should I be willing to buy a Major League Baseball ticket when the economy is roaring again? Why should I give them my money and my entertainment dollars when they weren't there for me? Period. I've shown up and worked every single day during the coronavirus shutdown. I've sat down in front of the mic. I've talked for 3 hours, even though we haven't had sports for two months. Why have I done that? Because I think there is a value in letting everybody else know I'm still showing up for work. By showing up, I'm continuing my sense of normalcy, and a lot of people start off their day by listening to me. Why am I still doing these videos? I could be out by the beach. I could be kicking it up. I don't have to do any of this. The message that you send to your audience is important. My message is get back to work. If I'm not working, then I can't tell you that message. I am going into a studio in Florida and sitting down in front of a mic and doing it every day. The reason why I tweeted out that I have been to restaurants 10 straight days in a row in Florida is because we got to get back to normalcy. The reason why I believe colleges should open is because the data supports it. The reason why Major League Baseball should be going on is because the data doesn't support that Major League Baseball players are in trouble. And I believe that people with audiences like me need to be honest with our audience, tell them the facts, and live by what we're telling other people to do. Go out to restaurants. Leave your house if you are young and healthy. Go to work. Get back to normal. That's what I do. So when I see a dude like Blake Snell, who is totally telling people the not accurate truth, and maybe he's not smart enough to understand the data, but when he says, bro, I'm risking my life, he is more likely to get hit by a line drive and be seriously injured than he is by the coronavirus. And this fires me up when somebody says, I should be getting the money I signed to be getting paid. Bro, there's not going to be anybody in the stands. When you signed a contract, I guarantee you it had a force majeure clause where if suddenly the season wasn't able to be played, your contract is not valid. But there are 36 million people out of work. A lot of them are baseball fans. And when you're saying, oh, I'm not going to work for $1 million, you know what a lot of people say? Bud. And they also say, the next man should take your job, bud. There's a lot of minor league baseball players out there that would love to show up and play an 80-game major league season. And so I don't have any sympathy for this idiot at all. He is an imbecile. He is spreading misinformation. And he's being a pussy willow, straight up. If he doesn't want to play, he doesn't have to play. But saying, bro, I'm risking my life as a reason why you're not playing, you sound like an idiot, bud. You're more in danger driving to the ballpark. And if there's a rainstorm getting struck by lightning, than you are from getting the coronavirus and dying from it. That is all factually 100% accurate. And that is the underlying reason why colleges need to open back up. I said this yesterday. I'm going to keep beating the drum on it. If you are a college-age kid, you are under more danger from being struck by lightning than you are from dying of the coronavirus. Let me repeat that. You are under more danger to be struck by lightning than you are to be killed by the coronavirus. This is not in any way a complicated scenario. People say, well, what about older people? Here's the answer. If you are under 65 years old and you are young and healthy, you're going to be fine, probably. Okay? The data is 40% of all people, and that's probably a low because some states aren't reporting this data, but 40% of all deaths from the coronavirus are from inside of nursing homes. So unless your college is on a nursing home campus, the odds of you getting people sick are really low. And so the truth of the matter is this. If you're over 65 years old, colleges can just say, hey, you stay home this fall. You don't need to be on campus. If you're under 65 years old and you're a professor, social distance. I went to college. I went to law school. Not to brag, also went to grad school. I got a couple of advanced degrees. It's pretty easy. I've been a professor at Vanderbilt University. It's pretty easy for the professor to stand up at the front of the school, the classroom, and not come within 6 feet of a student. You could easily do office hours via Zoom or via Facebook Live or FaceTime. This is not complicated. This is not hard. America needs to figure out solutions as opposed to listening to people running around with their hair on fire all day long, every day. One of the first and most important things you learn in college is how do you find the solution to problems? How in the world are colleges not leading us to solutions here? Figure it out. Get kids back on campus. People out there say, well, what do you if my kids were college age, I'd want them back on campus. If I were a professor, I'd want to be teaching on campus. My kids are 12, 9, and 5. I want them back in school sooner rather than later. I would put my kids in school right now if my schools were open. This is ludicrous. I see all of this, and it makes me want to strangle people who are so stupid and continue to share untruths. All right? Let me give credit to somebody who is an employee of a school. Gorden Gee, president of West Virginia University. By God, West Virginia. Country roads indeed. Gorden Gee said, we are going to play football in the fall, even if I have to suit up. Let me give a clap. That's what we need more of. First school president I saw to say this was Purdue's Mitch Daniels, former governor of Indiana. Now, Gorden Gee, we're going to play football in the fall, even if I have to suit up. That is West by God, Virginia's school president. Props to Gorden Gee and his statement there. We need more school presidents coming out aggressively and making these statements. We need more school presidents sharing the data that I just shared with you about the lack of risk that is available to students on campus. I love what I heard from Gorden Gee today. More props to him. Formerly at Ohio State, formerly at Vanderbilt University, I believe also maybe at Colorado. Guy's been a president all over the country. Big time statement, big time. I love the humor involved. We are going to play football in the fall, even if I have to suit up. Country roads are taking me up to Morgantown. Great town, by the way. Love it in West Virginia. That is a big time answer. One of the big problems that we have right now is sports media is filled with pussy willows. Sports media is filled with people who are arguing against sports coming back. And I got to give props for that reason. We're going to share this video, a shorter clip version that we're going to put out there. I love what Dana White said to the New York Times. The New York Times has started to cover the UFC because there's nothing else going on, and they are triggered over some of Dana White's decision. And Dana White came straight out and said, F the New York Times. By the way, I try not to curse on my shows now. Promise to my wife. Said, F the New York Times. All right? Boom. And then he went after them and pointed out that they're looking for page views, and they suddenly realized the UFC has a lot of fans, and they're desperate for sports to write about. Dana White is an American hero right now for finding a way to get out and get the UFC back up and running. He got up before anybody else did it. That is absolutely fantastic. Props to Dana White for going after the losers in the sports media who are arguing that sports shouldn't be back, because that's what a lot of losers in the sports media are doing. And by the way, you guys know that Dave Portnoy and I, really it's a one-sided feud. Portnoy has been upset at me for a couple years now, whatever. I got no issues with anybody at Barstool, but I'm going to give Portnoy props here. It's been lonely out here in the Twitter streets arguing for a couple of months now that we all said we were going to go in for a shutdown to try to avoid overloading hospitals and to flatten the curve. And somewhere along the lines, flatten the curve and avoid overloading hospitals, which we did all over this country, changed into we can't go outside again until there's a vaccine. That ain't right. That wasn't the bargain that we signed up for. That wasn't the agreement that we made. And I've been saying it for a couple of months now, and I give credit to Dave Portnoy at Barstool Sports for joining me in making that argument to his audience that might not have heard it elsewhere. This is an important distinction. Flattening the curve didn't even mean that there were going to be less infections. It just meant that there wasn't going to be a point that would overload hospitals. We didn't overload any hospitals, not one. In fact, all these excess hospital beds that we built were never used. Seattle, CenturyLink Field, never used that field. University of Kentucky spent millions of dollars on their indoor football complex, building an indoor hospital, never put a patient in. New York City, we turned the whole Javits Center into a hospital. Hardly anybody was there. We brought an entire ship up, docked it in New York City Harbor. Hardly anybody went in there. All of this excess capacity ended up being unnecessary. New York said they needed 140,000 hospital beds. Do you know how many they actually ended up needing? 19,000. City of Nashville, where I live, my double alum university, Vanderbilt, they said there's going to be 5,000 people that are hospitalized for the coronavirus in Tennessee. Nashville. Do you know what ended up happening? 300. They just changed their forecast and they said, sorry, I know we said 5,000. Actually, the number is going to be 300 tops. They totally whiffed on it. We were told, go inside, avoid hitting the apex and overloading hospitals. We did it. It didn't happen. In fact, hospitals are actually closer to going bankrupt. You would be amazed how many doctors listen to the radio show and email me on a regular basis and say, I'm furloughed right now. Nurses too. Rather than overload hospitals, we have managed to almost bankrupt hospitals because we've done away with elective surgery and because people are so afraid to go to the hospital because of the coronavirus that they are not even showing up. Hospitals aren't being overloaded. They are in danger of going bankrupt. And this is an important lesson. There are lots of medical experts out there, but they don't define everything. There are 2.9 million more people now who have lost jobs. That's 36 million lost jobs since the shutdown began. We have to stop pretending that all that matters is the coronavirus. UNICEF just said over 1 million kids might die worldwide because of the shutdown. The world is not binary. There are many multifaceted factors that play into every decision that we make about social policy. I have been saying for months that when you shut down the economy and the unemployment rate surges towards 20%, the highest it has been anywhere since the Great Depression, that the fallout from all of those people losing their jobs is going to be monumental. Child health care is going to plummet. Child to surge. The only thing growing exponentially in this country right now is that food banks and the unemployment rolls nationwide. We can't allow the coronavirus to destroy the greatest economy in the history of the world. All of this is 100% factually. There's a difference between facts and opinions. Sometimes my opinions you're not going to agree with. Sometimes they may not be accurate down the road when we look at the data months after they're made. But my facts are always accurate. And as a result, that means we need to use facts and data to make decisions. We started to make decisions only listening to people about the coronavirus, and as a result, we have driven our economy right off the cliff. The Wisconsin Supreme Court discussed and agreed with this. Yesterday, they shot down the governor of Wisconsin's ability to issue a stay-at-home order. They said he could give recommendations, but he didn't have the authority under their state constitution to mandate that everybody go home. This is a big battle. That's why Elon Musk against California is a big deal. Just because there are exigent circumstances doesn't mean your constitutional rights cease to exist. In fact, arguably, your constitutional rights become the most important in times of crisis. Just because lots of imbeciles give away their constitutional rights voluntarily doesn't mean they cease to exist. And so I have been asking a question for a long time. I think it's a good one. This is me putting my lawyer hat on. Do governors in many of the states that have ordered everyone to go home actually have the authority to do that? I question it. Los Angeles just said you can't go outside unless you're wearing a mask. Does the mayor of Los Angeles have the authority to demand that every single person who leaves their home in Los Angeles has a mask on? I'm not saying he can't recommend it. I'm not saying it might not be smart from a health perspective to do. I'm merely asking the question, which is a good one. Should the mayor of Los Angeles be able to mandate what you wear on your face when you leave your home as a free citizen living in the state of California in the county of Los Angeles? It's a really good question. My suggestion would probably be no. I'm not an expert in California statutory law. I'm not an expert in Los Angeles city codes. But that seems like a pretty substantial overreach to be able to mandate that. That if you go for a jog in California, you have to have a mask on or you could be arrested. That seems like a really expansive overreach of governmental authority. Just tossing it out there as an example. Everyone is subject to the rule of law, even our elected officials. Maybe we should say even the most should be subject to the rule of law is our elected officials. I agree. I think wearing a mask while jogging sounds ridiculous. That is now required by law, according to the command of the mayor of Los Angeles. Ron DeSantis. You think about the power of the media. Ron DeSantis has arguably done the best job of any governor in the country. Certainly right up there with the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, with the governor of Tennessee, Bill Lee, with the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, with the governor of Oklahoma, Kevin Stitt. There are a lot of people that have done really good jobs. But Ron DeSantis is a massively populous state of Florida. Huge senior citizen population. Other states like California have done such a poor job of allowing the economy to flourish while during lockdown that pro sports teams are thinking about leaving the state of California. Ron DeSantis has now welcomed them. Yesterday, we shared that opening plea. He said this morning that Florida and Florida State stadiums were open to host NFL teams if they need to come. I'm hoping that Peter King has a game to cover in Florida or Florida State, because if you remember, Peter King said, based entirely on politics and not looking at the data, that Ron DeSantis had done an awful job. He was a day late and $40 short. Actually, according to the data, Ron DeSantis has done an infinitely better job than the governor of New York, governor of New Jersey, governor of Connecticut, governor of California, all places that Peter King would be praising. All of this is important. All of it is incredibly important that we look at data to make decisions. We can disagree on some conclusions, but all of it should be rooted 100% in the data that is out there. And the data tells us that young people are not in danger from the coronavirus. It tells us that most people outside of nursing homes are not in danger from the coronavirus. It tells us that almost everyone under the age of 65 will be fine, and that the threat from all of these people losing their jobs, 36 million lost jobs, 2.9 million announced today, the unemployment rate over 15% now, that all of that is a much bigger threat going forward than the coronavirus itself is. I appreciate all of you. My name is Clay Travis. I am down at the beach in Florida. I'm going to take off after all this talk. I'm going to take off tomorrow and spend the day with my family at the beach. First day that I will have taken off on radio since the Rudy Gobert story began. And I'm going to take off a couple of days around Memorial Day. But I will still be writing. I will still be doing these videos. I would encourage you to go listen to the Outkick the Coverage podcast. It is phenomenal. It has been surging. Biggest month ever in April, headed for the biggest month ever in May. Our audience is growing. Why is it growing? Because so many people in sports media are pussy willows, and they are not sharing real data with you. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I will see you guys tomorrow. Go read the mailbag. Go listen to the podcast. Joel Klatt was great. Pro Football Doc was great. Shannon Spake and Frank Isola on this morning's radio program. I'm headed, by the way, to Dave & Buster's. Yes, Dave & Buster's is open in Florida. I'm going to go play some video games with my boys down here in Florida. It'll be the 11th straight day that we have gone out to dinner at a Florida restaurant. Live the message that you spread. It's what I'm doing. It's what all of you should do as well. Kisses. DBAP unless you need to SBAP.